Those panels are coming down. I don't care what you think your deed says. This is my community. Nothing goes on any roof in this neighborhood without my board's approval. Nothing. I am not a member of your HOA. You have no jurisdiction over my property. I don't need jurisdiction. I need compliance. Homeowners Association President Barbara Higgins showed up at the front door of 42 Maple Crest Way. She told the homeowner his refusal to join the Oakmont Heights HOA had resulted in $5,500 in accumulated violation fines against his deed. She claimed a lien had been filed with the county recorder's office. The board had exhausted every reasonable option. They would be taking further action to compel his compliance before the end of the month. She said further action like it was a standard administrative procedure. What she didn't know was that the homeowner had never signed a mandatory HOA covenant. Every fine she had issued against a non-member was legally void from the moment it was printed. The fraudulent disconnection order she submitted to the utility company was already being traced back to her by investigators. The solar panels she was preparing to fine him for were protected under state law. It was going to add 3 more charges to a criminal case that was already building faster than she could manage. Marcus Vance was a 42-year-old commercial real estate attorney based out of Los Angeles. He had closed on his property at 42 Maple Crest Way in the Oakmont Heights gated community of Irvine, California. This was 14 months before any of this started. Oakmont Heights sat in Orange County. It was an upscale neighborhood where the entrance had a staffed security booth. Homes started at over $1 million. The tree-lined streets gave the impression of a community that ran itself on professionalism and mutual respect. Marcus had bought the property after a decade of renting while building his practice. He chose it specifically because the deed he reviewed at closing contained no mandatory HOA covenant. He was a real estate attorney. He read every page of every document before he signed anything. The absence of a mandatory covenant was not an oversight. It was a primary factor in his decision to buy. He received the first HOA welcome packet in his mailbox 3 weeks after moving in. It included a membership application, a schedule of annual dues, and a letter from Barbara Higgins. She introduced herself as the HOA president of Oakmont Heights and expected him to return the application within 30 days. Marcus set the packet on his kitchen counter. He pulled out his closing documents and confirmed once again that his deed contained no mandatory membership obligation. He drafted a polite but unambiguous reply. He explained that he would not be joining the HOA and had no legal obligation to do so. Barbara Higgins was 55 and had been HOA president of Oakmont Heights for 9 consecutive years. She had never once encountered a homeowner who read their own deed carefully enough to decline membership on legal grounds. She assumed Marcus's refusal was ignorance or arrogance. She responded to his letter with a second membership application and a note explaining that participation was expected of all residents. Marcus replied with the relevant section of his deed. He included the California Civil Code provision confirming voluntary HOA membership could not be compelled without a recorded covenant. Barbara received that letter and did not respond to it. She filed a violation notice instead. Marcus just added it to a folder he had already started. Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. And if you believe that a homeowner who never signed an HOA covenant owes that HOA absolutely nothing, hit that like and subscribe button. Join us right here on Karen Conflict. The violation notices came in waves after that. The first cited Marcus's front landscaping as non-compliant with Oakmont Heights aesthetic standards. The second cited his outdoor lighting as an unapproved modification. The third cited his vehicle as improperly positioned in his driveway. None of them had any legal basis against a non-member, and Marcus knew it. He photographed every notice, logged every date, and forwarded each one to his legal files without paying a single dollar. Barbara escalated her correspondence through the winter. She referenced lien proceedings, foreclosure threats, and board resolutions. None of these had any authority over a homeowner who had never signed a membership agreement. Marcus responded to each letter with the same 2 documents, his deed and the relevant California Civil Code section. Barbara stopped responding to his replies and started filing more notices instead. By the end of the year, the accumulated balance she claimed against his deed had reached $5,500. She began copying the county recorder's office on her correspondence, acting as though a lien filing was already in progress. Then, one evening in February, Marcus came home from his office in Los Angeles. He found his house completely dark. It wasn't a power outage. His neighbors on both sides had lights on. Just his house was dark. He called Pacific Edison and was told after a long hold that a disconnection order had been processed against his address. It cited an unresolved compliance issue with the property. The representative could not tell him who had submitted the order. Marcus asked for a supervisor. The supervisor told him the order had come through a third-party management account. Restoring service would require a formal reinstatement request that could take 3 to 5 business days to process. Marcus sat in his dark house that night with his laptop running on battery power. He ordered a complete solar panel system before midnight. He had it professionally installed within 10 days. The house was fully powered again before Barbara had any idea what he had done. He also called his attorney the morning after the disconnection. He asked her to begin a formal investigation into how the order was submitted and who authorized it. She called him back within 48 hours with an answer that surprised neither of them. Marcus's attorney was a utilities and property law specialist named Alina Rostova, based out of Los Angeles. She traced the disconnection order to a third-party property management account. It had been opened using Oakmont Heights HOA credentials. The account was used on a single occasion to submit a fraudulent compliance disconnection request against 42 Maple Crest Way. The request cited an unresolved HOA violation as the basis for the disconnection. Pacific Edison's compliance team confirmed the submitted documentation. It included what appeared to be a forged signature on a property management authorization form. Alina forwarded the full findings to the Orange County District Attorney's Office and the California Public Utilities Commission that same afternoon. Then, Barbara saw the solar panels. She filed a violation notice against Marcus's property within 4 days of the installation. She cited the panels as an unapproved structural modification under Oakmont Heights architectural standards. She attached a $3,000 fine to his deed. She delivered the notice in person. These panels are an eyesore. They violate our community's aesthetic standards. You have 14 days to have them removed. Marcus looked at the notice. Then he looked at Barbara. He told her 3 things in a very specific order. First, his deed contained no HOA covenant, making the fine legally void. Second, California Civil Code, Section 714 specifically prohibited HOA restrictions on solar panel installations on residential property. Third, the utility fraud investigation opened against her the previous week now had a second exhibit to work with. Barbara's expression did not change immediately. What investigation? Check your email and close the door. Alina filed the civil lawsuit in Orange County Superior Court the following morning. She named Barbara personally and the Oakmont Heights HOA Board collectively. The criminal referral to the Orange County DA's office was already active. Pacific Edison had frozen the third-party management account and was cooperating fully with investigators. The forged authorization form had Barbara's fingerprints on it in more ways than one. The Orange County District Attorney's Office filed criminal charges against Barbara Higgins on 3 counts. She faced utility fraud under California Penal Code 532, forgery of a legal document under Penal Code 470, and fraudulent use of a third-party management account. Each count carried its own sentencing range. The combination of all 3 put her facing consequences that no HOA title in Orange County had ever protected anyone from. She hired a criminal defense attorney the same week the charges were filed. The retainer cost her $28,000. The civil lawsuit Alina filed in Orange County Superior Court moved quickly, given the strength of the evidence. Every violation notice Barbara had issued against Marcus's deed was declared legally void. The court confirmed they were unenforceable against a homeowner with no mandatory HOA covenant. The solar panel fine was dismissed under California Civil Code Section 714 in a single hearing lasting less than 20 minutes. The fraudulent disconnection was addressed separately as the most serious element of the civil claim. The court found that Barbara had deliberately interfered with Marcus's utility service through forged documentation. They awarded damages covering the cost of the solar installation and his legal fees. He also received compensation for the sustained harassment campaign she conducted against a non-member for over a year. The Oakmont Heights HOA board removed Barbara from the presidency unanimously the day after the criminal charges were filed. They commissioned a full audit of every enforcement action she took during her 9-year tenure. The audit found 11 other non-member homeowners in the subdivision who received violation notices from Barbara despite having no mandatory covenant. Every one of those notices was declared void. Several of those homeowners filed their own legal actions in the months that followed. Barbara Higgins entered a guilty plea on the utility fraud charge 8 months after the indictment. She was sentenced to 2 years of probation, paid significant financial restitution, and received a permanent ban from serving in any HOA leadership role in the state of California. Marcus Vance kept his solar panels. His grid power was restored by Pacific Edison within 2 weeks of the investigation concluding. He ran both systems simultaneously from that point forward. His electricity bill dropped to almost nothing. He never joined the HOA. If this story reminded you that reading your deed before you sign it is one of the most powerful things a homeowner can ever do, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you have ever been targeted by an HOA that had no legal authority over your property and did it anyway, drop your story in the comments. That story belongs on this channel. See you on the next one, right here on Care and Conflict.